on the Geneva Agreement, the Geneva document, based on the Geneva framework and the Geneva plan. Geneva, or in the Geneva document.
Media reports suggest that the CIA and other U.S. agencies have been secretly supporting Syrian rebels under the approval of President Obama. The secret order has allegedly been signed earlier this year with the purpose of ousting President Assad. Let's now cross live to Brian Becker, the director of the Answer Anti-War Coalition, for more on this media leak. Mr. Becker, thank you for being with us. First, let's get right to it. The order authorizes secret support for the Syrian rebels. What kind of support are we talking about here?
Well, the United States military and intelligence services are, as we know now from the U.S. government admission, been coordinating through Turkey, through a U.S. military air base. These are all, Turkey is a NATO country. The military operations for the so-called Free Syrian Army, the Syrian so-called revolutionaries. And it's clear now that this is not a shift in terms of U.S. strategy. It doesn't represent any kind of alteration. All that it does is reveal that the diplomacy, the so-called looking for a negotiated settlement is a fraud, that the diplomacy is in fact a form of perjury, that the reality is that the U.S. government, the Obama administration with the Pentagon and the CIA have been neck deep coordinating the military operations to overthrow a sovereign government in Syria.
British journalist Lizzie Phelan started a visit to Syria a week ago and talked about her impressions.
Yes, I've been in Damascus for 6 days now. I'm come here as a journalist from England, and I've been very surprised to witness the situation here, because before I arrived, I followed the media and what was happening in Syria, and I got the impression, as many people in England do, that the whole country is in a complete state of chaos, that it's very unsafe, and that there is army in the streets, and that there is big protests every day across the country against the government. I haven't so far seen any big demonstrations against the government. Actually, I've witnessed a massive demonstration in support of the government just a few days ago in Umayyan Square. So really, I've been very surprised, as I said, to what I've witnessed here is completely different from what has been told to the public in the West, in England, the United States and other countries.
A show of defiance in the capital. The Syrian president, along with his family, joined thousands who gathered in Damascus center. Bashar al-Assad showed he had the support of his people a day after insisting he will not step down. He may be an embattled leader, but Assad told the crowd that they would defeat what he called the international conspiracy.
The important thing is to have faith in the future, and I have faith in the future and in you.
نشوف مع بعض. والسلام على رسول الله رافع لواء المسلمين وذال الشرك والمشركين. اللهم إنا نستغيثك ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك ونعوذ الله بك من شرورهم. اللهم إنا نستغيثك ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك. اللهم فرج عن أسرانا وانصر جندانا. اللهم انصر دينك وعلي كلمة لا إله إلا الله بنحر هذا العبد المشرك الرافضي. اللهم عليك بالمرتد. اللهم عليك بالمرتدين ومن أعانهم علينا. اللهم عليك بالمندسين. اللهم عليك بالحاقدين. اللهم عليك بذلعاء الدين. اللهم عليك بهم. اللهم فرج عن أخواننا. اللهم انصر دينك وارفع لا إله إلا الله. اللهم ارفع لا إله إلا الله بنصرة دينك. اللهم انصر دينك بنحر هذا القدر المرتد. اللهم عليك به، اللهم عليك به، اللهم عليك به. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. وما رميت إذ رميت ولكن الله رمى. بسم الله والله أكبر. الله أكبر.
Not an easy place to get to. Harder to get out. It's a Ministry of Interior prison near Damascus, close to rebel-held positions. We're here to talk to what the government says are jihadists captured by the army.
Because he became part of the Al-Qaeda organization. Specifically جبهة النصرة, the Nusra Front. Nusra Front, it is a new baby from Al-Qaeda organization. Because the people get offended and they have a negative image of Al-Qaeda, so they came up with the Jabhat al-Nusra. They label it with a new name, which is Jabhat al-Nusra.
Why did you join?
لماذا انضميت? For jihad. He joined for jihad.
ليش؟
مفتي الجيش الحالي.
He's a mufti for the Free Syrian Army.
الغاية القضاء على الدولة العلمانية. To demolish the secular state. بث روح الجهاد عند الشباب.
Injecting the jihad spirit on the youth.
تخليص البلد من الدولة العلمانية.
I mean, freeing Syria from the secular system.
What is the future in Syria for the minorities, Shia, Christian?
Okay, they have three choices. Either they became a Muslim, or they had to pay the jizya, or to be killed.
Why isn't there room in Syria for Christians and Muslims?
ليش ما في مجال إنه يعيشوا المسلمين والمسيحيين مع بعض؟ They can live together if they pay the tax. They're not looking for the Syrian Christians. They're looking for globalists. They want to go back to the Andalus, to Spain. Even Britain, of course. This is the Khilafah, the Islamic Khilafah. And from there we go all over the world. And this is what they are teaching the next generation.
Later, we spoke to them alone. They showed no obvious signs of ill treatment and said they were happy to be interviewed.
Insurgents in the Syrian capital Damascus have attacked Press TV staff and killed one of our reporters. Press TV correspondent Maya Nasser came under attack while reporting on air. The attack is seen as another indication that the foreign-backed militants will do anything to advance the aims and interests of the supporters.
French newspaper Le Figaro has reported there is an almost unanimous conviction that the death in Syria of France 2 journalist Gilles Jacquier was caused by a mortar shell from the opponents of the Assad administration. France's defense ministry refuses to confirm any conclusions, but reporter Georges Malbruno claims that all the French special services, the French embassy in Damascus, and even the Arab League have exonerated Assad supporters.
Different services from the intelligence concluded the same way, that he was killed by the rebels, and they made a ballistic research proving that the mortar came in fact from the rebel area.
There is something of a precedent here, and if the taxman...
Having covered conflicts in the Balkans, Afghanistan, Libya and Iraq, Channel 4's Alex Thompson is considered an experienced journalist by any standard. Yet the events that unfolded whilst on assignment in Syria seem to surprise even the seasoned correspondent. In an interview with RT, he explained how rebel forces from the Free Syria Army set him and his colleagues up by leading them into no man's land the area between rebel and government fighting, in order to be shot to win a propaganda fight with Bashar al-Assad's government.
The fate of a Ukrainian journalist held by Syrian rebels remains unknown after a ransom deadline from a group threatening to execute her past. Anhar Koshnova was kidnapped by insurgents said to be from the Free Syrian Army, who she repeatedly accused of undue brutality against civilians.
اسمي أنهار. أنا هلا موجودة في مدينة حمص وبطلب من سفارة أوكرانية سفارة روسية إذا في مجال وحكومة سورية تنفيذ المطالب بالخطفين.
Mr. Mousavi, who do you see as responsible for the deaths of journalists such as Maya?
The people who were not happy about what he was telling are responsible for this, and this falls into the terrorist groups and into those who are targeting the civilians in Syria as well. We hold also responsible the Western governments who support this kind of rebels who are trying to destroy Syria and kill the civilians in this regard.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وما ظلمناهم ولكن كانوا أنفسهم يظلمون نظرا لما لمسناه من خيانة بعض أهالي بلدة المسمية من أبناء الطائفة المسيحية ووقوفهم إلى جانب شبيحة النظام، وكذلك بسبب التواجد الأمني الكبير لعصابات الأسد في هذه البلدة المحاصرة من قبل اللواء العمري منذ عملية اقتحام اللواء 34 وتدميره، فأننا نمهل أهالي هذه البلدة 3 أيام اعتبارا من تاريخ 20/12/2012 بإخلاء البلدة.
BBC كله.
Why?
سيء. لا يعني BBC سيء. Because you are talking very bad about Syria. You are not telling the truth
But
about
you know
Syria.
what? This is the first time I've been able to come to Syria.
No, why
My
before you
first
didn't
visa.
come? Why before you didn't
I
come?
didn't have a visa.
No, why you didn't get the visa?
We've been waiting for a visa to
No,
come to
no,
tell
no,
your
it's not
story.
correct. Everybody can come to Syria and get visa.
It's not true. Fadi is here. We can ask Fadi.
No, no, it's not correct.
Well, there's no journalists who come to Syria. Well, tell me what your story is then. What do you think? What is? Tell me what they. No, but tell me what do you think is what is the lie that's being told? What do you think is not
You
being
lie
told?
because you are talking truth, not truth about Syria.
So
Syria
what is
is
the
very
truth?
quiet.
What is
The truth is nothing we have in Syria. Syria is very quiet. And everybody in the population in Syria loves our president and we support the president. But you are talking the very lie about Syria.
Well, I didn't lie. It's my first day here.
No, you are lying because everybody here, population, 23 million person from Syria love Bashar al-Assad and support Bashar al-Assad.
But I'm not making it up. There are pictures of
No, you are,
protests. But there are pictures.
you are advertisement like that.
But if we see, yes,
No,
there
no,
are
no,
people
no,
like
no,
you
no,
who
you are
support.
lying, you are tired like that. Everybody when BBC Arabic, he can hear the lie about Syria. Al Jazeera and the Arabia.
But what is it? But maybe Syria is like any country. Some people support and some
No,
people
no,
don't
everybody
support.
is support.
So Syria
And
is different.
there is very little people. Maybe 10,000 like that. But the most of people, 22 million, 23 million person support Bashar al-Assad.
But even
and you have not demonstration, you have armed gangs.
But even the president said there needs to be some change.
No, yes.
He did say that.
Change.
Yes. He said there are some legitimate grievances.
He is always going to make that change.
Yes.
He's trying always to make the change. So we support him. But you are telling the lie about this. Now finish.
Mr. Bashar Assad for very good and very ill.
But you have to know,
very good and I like
just say that. Now you are representing the BBC